pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mr. Bradley?
Here.
Mrs. Conway?
Here.
Mrs. Singer-Erdley?
Here.
Mr. Lesby?
Here.
Mr. Showalter?
Here.
Mrs. Tingle-Sames? Here. Mrs. Tackett? Here. Mr. Thompson?
Here.
Thank you. We have a full house. First item on our agenda tonight is to conduct a public hearing for MAP funds. So I'll go ahead and call that MAP hearing to order. There's a public notice in your packet that indicates that our intention to use municipal aid program funds to purchase an infrared pavement repair trailer. We may have talked about this in the past. It's essentially a very large truck-mounted sunlight or sun lamp that they can actually apply heat directly to a paved surface and actually soften the asphalt enough to where when they do the repair, it becomes more a part of the existing blacktop and it doesn't pop out as quickly. So when I first heard about this tool, I thought it was something that would help us do a much better job of pothole repairs, especially in colder weather, because the lamp can overcome the ambient temperature and warm stuff, so we can have a better repair job. So while we have the public hearing open for this purpose, is there anyone that would like to speak with the council about our proposed use of MAP funds? If there are no comments, then we will close the public hearing for MAP and move on to our council agenda. And for new council members, that is frequently the way MAP hearings go. Hopefully this spring, when we have a significant list of streets to pave, we may get more comment, we may get more public interest, but that's a fairly routine thing that occurs. Each of you have a copy of the minutes from our last meeting of January 11th. Oh, that's right. This is late January. January the 11th in your packet. If you'd like to look those over for any possible corrections or additions.
Mayor, make a motion we pass the minutes as presented.
Thank you. Motion's been made.
Second.
Second. Thank you, Ms. Sames. If there are no additions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Also in your packet is a copy of our latest check register. Would everyone please indicate if you've received that packet? Thank you. Under the public comments portion of our meeting, our public comment sign-up sheet is blank. But we'd be happy to hear public comment from anyone that wishes to speak. Thank you all. Mayor's comments. Actually, I have none. No, I'm kidding.
You were blank?
You should be so lucky.
Way to start 2000.
Way to start. First off, I must tell you that our broadcast is dark tonight. The equipment is functioning fine. We are recording our meeting, and we will have it on Facebook, YouTube, as we always do. But we are not broadcasting tonight. We lack one piece from Time Warner that allows us to access the system. And I've had very recent conversations within the last 2 days with some of their executives. I've let them know that our council meeting, our last one was dark, that tonight would be dark, and that's not acceptable. We expect for our council meetings to be broadcast. Probably The thing that's been on everybody's mind the most, it certainly has been the staff and the employees, has been snow events in Georgetown and Scott County. And just a couple of comments that I wanted to make about our experience with the recent snow event. I could not be more proud of the way our citizens and our employees responded. I think there was a very well coordinated effort to be very aggressive at clearing the streets. And I think a lot of folks worked hand in hand to make that happen. There was coordination between city and county and all of our departments through law enforcement, county road department, public works, and other agencies. We started off the snow event with a press conference outlining what our plans were and the things that we ask of our citizens. And frankly, our citizens responded very well. Friday morning, I guess, Chief, as the storm began to intensify, Chief Bossy and I went through the police department, and we also went through the dispatch 911 center. It was a great sight. All of the consoles were occupied. People were busy answering calls. We even had an additional console set up in the 911 center where one dispatcher was responsible for taking all of the emergency transport calls. Between city, county, police, sheriff, all the agencies involved, we had 11 emergency transport vehicles available. And so to coordinate that, we had one specific dispatcher that handled all of those requests. And we were sending people all over the city, diabetic dialysis patients, nurses that had to get to work. There was even one case where a nurse had to get to work in Lexington. We helped her coordinate, and we took her to the county line, and Fayette County met us at the Fayette County line and took her the rest of the way in. But that exercise worked very well. We have a total of 8 units available to our Public Works Department during these snow events. We have 1 large dump truck, we have 3 smaller dump trucks, and then we have 4 pickup trucks that are equipped with blades and salt spreaders. So we have a total of 8 vehicles. In this case, snow event, we actually took one of our spare vehicles and cobbled it together to where it functioned. And there were times when we had 9 vehicles out working. We also had 5 contract snow removal folks working on our behalf so that we could have as robust a response as we could. It wasn't a perfect effort, but it was, I believe, a much improved effort. We got a lot of assistance from good corporate citizens like Hamilton Hinkle, or Nally and Gibson. Frank Hamilton and Richard Hamilton once again sent multiple dump trucks and big loaders downtown Saturday morning. We had the police block different blocks of Main Street one at a time. We had inmates from the detention center. We had contract snow plowers. We had Public Works employees and Hamilton Hinkle employees. And from about 8:30 until 2 o'clock that afternoon, all the snow was taken out of downtown Georgetown. So we want to thank Frank and Richard Hamilton for their contribution to what we tried to work on. We're also looking real carefully now at where we can improve the plan that we had. And as you actually put a plan into effect, you begin to see places where you can make tweaks. And I got some real valuable feedback from you council members. Karen, your text was helpful on pointing out some areas. We started to do an evaluation today, and we got partway into the topic, and we've actually scheduled a formal post-mortem on the snow event for Thursday, where we'll have all the departments present, and we'll talk about what we can change and what we can do differently. Some things that we've already learned. It may be that even though some streets are classified as tertiary streets, if there's a business located on them, we may want to upgrade those to a secondary street. We found several cases where our employees told us that if they had to bypass a tertiary street to continue on a secondary street, it wasn't as efficient if they had to backtrack to pick up the cul-de-sac or the tertiary street. So we want to listen to those tweaks so that we can make it as effective as we can. We also want to make sure that while we think addressing the primary streets first, then the secondary streets, and then the tertiary streets is a good way for us to go at it, we've also got to be very thorough to push all the way through to the end and get all of the tertiary streets. We have to fight a tendency to exhale when most of the battle is won. We've got to push all the way through and help the people that live on every street. So we're very proud of the way this worked. We know we can make some improvements, and we're going to be about studying how to do those. It really was important to me, Chief, as we toured dispatch and talked with our telecommunicators, the fact that each one of them had a copy of our snow plan on their desk. And when a citizen called, they could answer a question. They could tell the citizen where their street was ranked and get some idea of when we would clear it. People didn't always get the answer that they wanted, but this year we were able to give them answers, where in the past we've had to guess at some of that. So even the dispatch officers, I think, appreciated having that tool to use.
Good.
So I want to thank our citizens who did stay off the roads and those who did park in their driveways. It makes it much easier. Even though we don't have all of our signage up yet, our citizens responded very well. So we had other things going for us. We didn't get 15 to 18 inches like some other places did, and we thank our lucky stars for that. We're thankful that the sun was bright enough to give some radiant heat and assist our efforts along. We know there are more and bigger storms coming later this winter, so we learned from this one.
Trying to figure out how you knew that and let us know in advance, right?
Yeah.
Well, I figure if I say it, then maybe it won't happen.
There you go.
Also, for council's information, at this point, it looks like we spent around $9,000 on the contract snow removal folks that we used.
Can you, since the governor actually declared all of Kentucky emergency, can't you get some recoup off of that since it's a state of emergency?
The judge and I are gonna meet with Jack Donovan. When we went through this exercise last year, it was pretty much concluded that the documentation requirements were such that we weren't sure how much of a refund we'd be eligible for. So we ended up not declaring a state of emergency because we didn't think the benefits would be there for us. I think the judge and I need to meet with Jack Donovan again and explore the same question.
Yeah.
Different circumstances, same question. Okay. Several other things to make council aware of because it's mayor's comments. We want to make you aware of some activity involving the Ponderosa and Spindletop mobile home parks and the ongoing issue of Georgetown Municipal Water and Sewer Service extending sewer lines out to that trailer park to address what is probably Scott County's greatest environmental problem. There is an effort by the bankruptcy court to bring that facility out of bankruptcy. and they've been fairly aggressive in contacting us, wanting us to commit to this sewer line project. The difficulty, there are a lot of difficulties. The primary difficulty with this particular plan to exit bankruptcy is that they want 400 additional units in those trailer parks. There are 489 now, I think. They want 400 additional units, 200 in Fayette County, 200 in Scott County. They further want the sewer line sized large enough to accommodate that additional development at the trailer park. None of that's going to happen. Judge Lusby, Gene
You have to do that,
from
Timmy.
the Health Department.
Thomas,
Gene Thomas,
thank you.
thank you. Gene Thomas, Mr. Wilhite, and I and Andrew have been meeting to make sure that we all are on the same page, that we all understand each other, and we give a very clear signal to those involved in this effort to bring the park out of bankruptcy. We have, at this point, we have no intention of sizing that line any larger than it takes to address the existing problem at those trailer parks. We don't have the money, we don't have the need to oversize that line, and we're not going to. They have asked to approach the council on the issue, and we have responded that there's no sense in asking the city council or GMWSS to take any action. They need to first go to the Planning and Zoning Commission to see if they can get a successful zone change consideration, which we don't think will happen. They then need to appear before the Scott County Fiscal Court to get a zone change enacted, which we don't think is going to happen. And we have no intentions of taking our ratepayers' money and investing it into their sewer line. We do recognize the value of that customer base, and we're willing to contribute that amount. We are still holding a $1 million grant that was originally given to the county for the reservoir project, which has been reassigned to this project. But the folks managing this deal say that they have no capital to contribute toward the sewer line. I can't predict what the bankruptcy court will do, but if they don't have a viable plan by March the 4th, it will probably, title will probably revert back to the bank that holds the title. The folks trying to bring this out of bankruptcy have indicated that they'll simply move forward with their Plan B. Their Plan B is to fix the existing package plant out there and get it licensed to use.
It won't be easy to do.
We don't think that's going to happen either.
With the 400 additional lots.
With the additional lots.
Yeah.
We don't think that can be done. We will be meeting with, as soon as possible, we'll be meeting with the Division of Water and other state agencies to express our concern. I'm seeking an appointment with Mayor Gray, since this environmental issue straddles our border. Lexington historically has not paid much attention to this problem because, frankly, all of the
It all runs our way.
it all runs into our watershed. I also want the council to understand that this is an issue for the Georgetown City Council. The fact that all of the waste that is not being properly treated at that package plant flows into the Lanes Run watershed that is a recharge area for the Royal Spring, which is a big part of our drinking water. It does matter to us,
And then directly into Elkhorn.
and directly into the Elkhorn. If a sewer line is going to be a part of a final solution, we own the company that would do that. So it's our issue. After looking at this issue long and hard, I think we have both. I want us to take a new look at this issue. It's not only an environmental concern, but I think this could be one of the biggest human tragedies that we're having in Scott County today. The conditions in the park, I don't think are that good. We hear anecdotal information about some of those trailers being completely gutted and just bunk beds in there.
But that's not really, when you say it's a Georgetown problem, it is because of the water company, but that's a county situation, so aren't we going to be partners if we proceed to be partners with the county in all of this?
We absolutely will.
Yeah, and I hope, like you said, that Mayor Gray would step up and help out, since half of that problem is his up there. It's all coming this way.
We would hope so.
Yeah.
And the other thing is administratively, we control code enforcement and building inspection that would have to be key partners in this. The judge has been in all of our meetings. This will be a joint city-county action. In fact, the letter that we sent last week was jointly signed by Judge Lusby, Bob, and myself. So we represented the water company, the city, and the county, so we're speaking with one voice on this issue. We've got to address this, but the realization that we've come to is we might have to start asking ourselves where 2,000 people are going to go. There's a humanitarian crisis here as well. If we can't run the sanitary sewer based on their demands, and if they try to open a failing package plant, and we get the Division of Water and the EPA and others to say that's not in our community's best interest, ultimately we have to ask ourselves what are going to happen
Where are they
So
gonna
they'll
go?
shut it down.
to these people. I've asked Arlene to set me up meetings with the leadership of the Hispanic Initiative in Scott County to start having these conversations on a broader level. So we begin to look at both the humanitarian parts of this as well as the environmental concerns. This is an issue that has plagued Georgetown and Scott County for 20 years, is really beginning to come to a head.
I had I spoke with the attorney who's representing the debtor trying to break this out of bankruptcy, and he, in his own words, described to me the operation at the package treatment plant as, quote, a glorified manure spreader. That's essentially what's happening out there. It's not really getting treated so much as it is getting dispersed.
That's scary.
This is Scott County, Kentucky in 2016. So we wanted you to know that we've been active between the city and the county, trying to give the right information to the bankruptcy court, and we want to defend our interest vigorously with the Division of Water and others.
Mayor, wouldn't you think, I don't know who the lender is, but wouldn't you think that if it did go back to the lender, that there may be more of a willingness of cooperation? I'm just asking. With your experience, I see Andrew kind of nodding his head or maybe shrugging his shoulders. I'm not sure
Well,
which.
I think I would agree with you in principle. I think we have a major unknown here, which is we don't really know who that major creditor is. The attorney described it to me as an investment trust. So, I mean, I think yes, I think we will get a fresh set of eyes at least on this situation. But when I hear investment trust, the first question is, well, where do I start? Who do I call first?
Yeah.
We did confirm that the treatment plant at this location is on Kentucky's sewer sanction list. So any repairs to it or an expansion of its capacity should red flag everyone. And we're going to be at the front of that line. I also thought it was fascinating. You can go online and Google mobile home parks for sale in Georgetown and get this beautiful flyer about Georgetown Estates.
Wow.
This would be the property we're talking about.
It looked like that, it
It's
wouldn't be no
called
issues.
Georgetown.
Big issue, we'll keep you informed, but some things might happen pretty quickly once the bankruptcy court understands that their plan for sewage treatment is not a viable plan.
I had a quick question. Have you all done any research, like what other communities have done in situations like, or is there any data even of, you know, what other communities have done with this problem? Because you think it's probably, you know, happened in some other areas and a little widespread, just, you know.
We haven't gone to Kentucky League of Cities
Yeah, I was
or
gonna ask
CAECO
that.
or the
Yeah.
Bluegrass Ad yet.
Yeah, I was gonna ask
We
that.
probably should take that step.
Yeah, because they might, you know, have had some other experience, 'cause
What we wanted to be sure that happened, Polly, is the people working on this deal are taking a very aggressive approach. And we didn't want them to be able to represent to the bankruptcy court or anyone else that, well, we're talking to Georgetown and they seem to be pretty receptive.
yeah,
We thought our response needed to be in writing and leave no doubt.
most definitely.
So
yeah,
that-
without a doubt.
We have delivered those messages.
It's
Well,
good.
Go ahead.
I was gonna ask if the bankruptcy is a result of fines by the Division of Water. Is that why they're in bankruptcy?
No.
Okay. What is the Division of Water doing about this if the plant is not meeting the guidelines?
Chuck, precious little.
But
It's their responsibility.
if
And
they can go in and
frankly-
take it over, if I'm not mistaken, can't they, Bob? If it's being run like that, can't they?
Can
I hate
and
to bring
will
Bob
are
into it,
two
but-
different words.
I mean,
Want to, they're very effective.
We being Georgetown Water and Mayor Varney and Andrew and the judge were called to the Division of Water a couple years ago, and they asked us to take over this plant with all its problems and all its fines, and we declined to do so. We asked them for their help in running this sewer line, and they said, well, we don't have any money. We don't know what to do with it. So, I mean, we've been talking about this for the
Well,
water
this has been
company
on
for
the
at
table
least
for
10
about
years.
14 years, we've discussed it in off this council here.
Yeah.
The
Mr. Fournette was a big, wanting to come up.
Advocate.
Advocate for this thing.
I mean, really, we talked about it in conjunction with the Sadie'ville. I mean, we said, hey,
Yeah.
we've got to do Sadie'ville, but
We need
this
to
is
go.
going to be the next shoe to fall.
Yeah. The Division of Water needs to show up with us.
What they
And-
want us to do is, because that conversation was even before that, is they want, because we do have the sewer operations, that we can run the line down there and let us take care of it. That's what they want us to do.
And Chuck, no one has said this to me, but I'm not sure the Division of Water wants to think about what happens if they shut down the plant. And then we truly are faced with the question of what do we do with 2,000 people?
I have several other questions, if you don't mind me asking.
No, please.
Will the revenue stream off the current residents pay for the cost of the sewer line out there?
Our last analysis was we had a cost figure about $3 million to run a force main and build a pump station to handle the existing lots. And we're going to split it three ways: $1 million from the legislature, $1 million from the water company, and $1 million from the property owner. And we had figured that since this was a low to moderate income area, we could recoup through a monthly fee enough to pay that, our $1 million back within 20 years. It would cover that. But if we had to borrow the 2 million and try to get that from the ratepayers, they wouldn't be able to afford it.
So it would justify a $1 million cost, but not a $3 million cost.
Right.
I think there are other things that are important too. One, that I was assuming sending a line just for the size of what's out there now. Two, that was not including any cost for any repairs necessary to the laterals underneath the trailer park. That could be, that's an unknown. It
That's
could be
a
another $1
big
million
unknown.
at least. We just don't know.
The other issue is to properly bill for sewer service, everyone has to be individually water metered. And out of the 489 units there, about 300 of them, I think, are currently individually metered.
About that.
The rest would still have to be individually metered, which is yet another expense.
We need it. I got one more question.
Yes, sir.
I think, one. I'm just gonna ask you to ballpark this, because I know you can't give me an exact number, but what do you think a package plant, a new package plant that would work, would cost?
We don't build package plants, so I really couldn't tell you. I know when the Mallard Point package plant was looking to have to be upgraded, it was in the millions to upgrade that package plant. And that was an existing plant that was already in operation, so, I mean, to build one from scratch, you're talking millions of dollars.
One to service 500 people?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm just going back to North Middletown. We bought a package plant, it was about $500,000. And then it got flooded out and had to buy another one, and I think it was about $750,000. So I was just thinking, if you could buy a new package plant that worked for $1 million, why spend $3 to run a line out there?
Yeah. And then that's also a little bit in conflict with the big public policy move to get package plants
Offline.
Yeah.
offline and out of here.
But if the package plant works, you can drink the water that comes out of it.
Because Division of Water doesn't want any more
They don't want,
package.
they want to shut them all down if they can.
They want to shut them all down. But, so.
Maybe they can put the money up to run the line then.
Right,
Exactly.
right. Tom said there's a lot of people got to step up here to get this going.
But that's,
Yeah, a
I
whole
guess I
lot
have a
to
question now, just piggybacking off of what he's saying, and we did do a package plan, it was $750,000 to do that up there. Now, I know what the Division of Water wants. Would that entail also not just putting in a new package treatment plant, but also what's underneath? Would
I
that
think they
upgrade
would
that?
still have
Oh,
to do that.
yeah, that
That's
would-
just,
So
it's
that
so
would
old,
add
it's
more
got
to
to be
that
leaking.
750.
Or
Yeah.
$1 million.
I think they're in pretty bad shape up there, from what I understand.
Well, most of it
Underneath
has
and
been in the
drainage.
ground since the 1960s in clay pipe, and its lifespan is run.
If it's all clay. Somehow it could be that old Orangeburg cardboard.
I don't think anybody knows.
Nobody really knows.
Digging it up.
I think the property owner is gonna have to put some of their monthly rental for the units towards this project.
Well, the
They
property
can't
owner
just get
doesn't-
off scot-free.
Yeah, property owner, the current property owner doesn't even own it. That's part of the problem. They were getting ready to get foreclosed on, and.
But whoever ends up owning it
Right.
after the bankruptcy's done.
I think the bank is, or the lender.
It'll revert back to the
It'll be back to
lender.
the lender, yeah,
But this
most likely.
And the
If the lender wants it,
the ownership,
they could auction it off.
well, the ownership hadn't been very credible up until this point on doing what they say they'll do.
It'd be nice to turn this negative into a positive somehow.
Yeah.
Upgrade the, you know, I mean, assuming that we wanted to keep those 480 homes there, somehow work something out where the whole place gets improved. And I don't know if that's even possible, but it sure would be nice if that could happen. A beautification project in conjunction with infrastructure and everything else.
Exactly.
I hope we can achieve that outcome.
Yeah,
And,
well-
and I hope Mayor Gray embraces the fact that this is a joint problem that we share.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
I know we don't really think that the extra units will get approved, but if they did, would the extra unit revenue stream help us recoup some of the cost to put it in?
I've not really,
To upsize the line?
I've not upgraded what the project cost would be to handle those additional units, so I really haven't run that analysis.
Economy of scale, you'd think that it would help us a little bit on
Seems
it,
like it would, but
if it got approved.
we're just doubling the problem.
Well, and the other difficulty is all the figures that Bob's worked with up until now is only sizing the line for the existing problem. If we're gonna almost double the capacity of the park, then those costs are gonna be considerably higher. Now, your revenue base might be higher, but boy, the costs to get it in are gonna really go up.
Yeah.
But you've got your base cost of digging the trench. All you think you're gonna have extra cost is the size of the pipe.
Force mains and wet wells have to be increased
Yeah,
too.
pump station has to be a lot bigger, your storage time is gonna be bigger pumps.
It's a large problem, and we're all gonna
Yeah.
pick it up and look at it.
So if they wanted to increase the size, if it got approved, then the owners would have to pay the extra cost of running the line.
Chuck, when they first approached us 6 months ago about these conversations, the owners were gonna put in $1 million. And we told them that the plan didn't work then. Now they've come back to us, and the only thing they've changed is they've taken their $1 million off the table, and they're wanting
Want it
They're
done.
wanting us to do it entirely at our cost.
No.
But that same
absolutely not.
scenario that you just mentioned, if I can remember back, that same scenario happened ever so many years ago, and the same thing. Wanted us to fix it, us to do it, us to front the cost for every bit of it, so nothing's really changed in 8-10 years. Same thing.
And the Division of Water is still not at the table with
And
us.
that was the same then, but they wanted us to do it.
I'm not in favor of our people paying to bail them out.
No, I'm not
Thank you.
either.
Not either.
I think it's ridiculous.
Bob is in agreement, out of fairness to our citizens and GMWSS ratepayers. We just can't do that.
And every time we've extended service to an unserviced area, it's always paid its own way. That's the way we've always done it.
Yep.
It's gotta carry its own weight
Yeah.
financially.
So, a little bit of a bombshell to bring you, but it's one we've been aware of, and things are moving at this point. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Hey, Bob, real quick, what size line were you talking about running out there? I'm just curious.
I was afraid you'd ask that. I think it was a 12, but don't hold me to that. I haven't looked at that estimate for a couple of years.
Yeah. How long does the new infrastructure generally last? What's it designed for, 50 years or 100 years?
40 to 50 years.
50 years.
Pumps, pumps maybe 10.
What about the lines themselves?
Well, 40 to 50.
40, 50?
Yeah. You can get them coated, and get a little bit more life out of them. Adds a little bit more upfront cost, but you can get more life out of them.
The sewer lines themselves, are they plastic?
These would probably be iron,
Metal ductile?
coated metal, since it's force main.
Just curious. And Mayor, the reason I was asking that question is sometimes you can amortize things out more than 20 years to try to fit a little bit more into the project. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Because he talked about amortizing it for 20 years, right?
Yeah, that's what we've used as well since I've been to water.
Right.
That's what we felt comfortable with.
Right, I understand.
20 years was as long as we wanted to commit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I was wondering about the life.
Yeah, longer-term assets can be financed for longer terms. Well, we will have much more information to bring back to you over the next handful of months. We had mentioned several times that an effort with the Revenue Commission on some collection efforts that we've had underway, and we just want to keep this on your agenda so you know what's going on. We've received some payments at the Revenue Commission. We've hired outside counsel to help us collect this money or file lawsuits as necessary, and outside counsel is beginning to get some folks to pay. So we hope that this effort, the profile grows and more people become aware that we're going to be very diligent about collecting these back taxes. We're taking a page out of Tracy's book, and if folks owe the city money, we want that to be collected. We will open bids for the demolition of the center of town on February the 3rd. I think explained to you all, we had completed the little mini study of what hazardous stuff might be in the building. We got that report back. There's not a lot, but there is enough that we could put that into our bid specs, and we'll open those bids on February the 3rd. Our RFQs for our solid waste consultant are due in here tomorrow.
Thursday. Sorry.
Thursday.
Thursday.
Did I say tomorrow? I meant Thursday.
We knew.
So we'll have those RFQs as of Thursday, and look forward to getting the Public Works Committee down here and make sure you all have access to those RFQs so we can start studying them and make a quick recommendation back to the council on who to hire. Or, excuse me, the one to select, so we can negotiate a scope of work and then bring a recommendation back to the council. We, just in case you're getting calls, we have renewed our conversations with Time Warner Cable about complaints we've had from the Abbey subdivision. That's where we've gotten the most complaints from. And we think we've escalated that as high as we can escalate it in the company, and we think that will be addressed. When I met with some of their executives last week, I said, I have 2 words: Abbey and a part that you owe us for our broadcast system. I want to give the council a heads up that April 22nd will be Earth Day, and we're going to do another big downtown cleanup.
Okay.
And if we can, we're going to try and do an Earth Week worth of activities. We're working with Bluegrass Green Source, and we'll bring you more plans about what that will look like. Polly and Chuck and myself have been working for some time to bring you a recommendation on the Main Street program and how we move forward with that program. And we're very close to a recommendation. What we would like to do is we are going to announce a public hearing that will take place during our next council meeting. We'll, just like we did the MAP hearing tonight, we'll convene a public hearing that we advertise for all interested parties to be here. We'll actually give the details of our recommendation and accept public comment on that. Once that public comment process is through, council can either vote on the recommendation that night if you're comfortable, or we can then schedule it for a vote 2 weeks from then. But we're close to bringing this to a close. We've gotten a favorable recommendation from the Tourism Commission. Last week I met with the Executive Committee of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they are willing to take on the work of the Design Committee. They've asked us to consider taking 3 steps for that to happen in its entirety. And I think they're all 3 things that we had talked about being a part of our final recommendation. One is that the council consider an H1 district with more teeth in it. And we've talked about a growing consensus for that action. We've talked about the establishment of, with an H1 district, we would also need some body to serve as an architectural review board. I'd prefer to find a different name for that board, since architectural review boards have a negative connotation in some people's mind, and we'd like for this to be a positive. The 3rd step we would need to take is to, right now, the program boundaries of the Main Street program and our H1 district do not coincide with each other. We need to do some work to adjust the boundaries to fit what the council wants to have happen. Planning and Zoning has nodded their head. They're willing to undertake this design committee activity. So I think we're ready to present recommendations to the public and finally ask council to vote on that. So that will be a big part of our next meeting. We have gotten word on the CMAQ grant, the congestion mitigation and air quality grant that we submitted for Cardinal Drive, and we were not successful with that grant application. Given the importance of what we were trying to accomplish, we have been encouraged to resubmit this grant in the fall. So we don't have an immediate 3-lane solution to implement. However, Chief Bossy, I think some of your folks have been working with the Department of Transportation, and they're willing to work with us on a grant to add a turn lane at 25 and Long Lick. Isn't that correct? Which would greatly facilitate what we're doing as an interim step. That might also cause us to, it will cause us to have conversations with all of our public safety folks, and we may bring a recommendation back to the council to make the one-way configuration permanent. It seems to have solved a lot of problems.
Seems
It's
like-
working well.
Yeah.
It's better than it was when we started it. The ultimate answer is a grant to 3-lane it, but until such time, we're looking at other things. A quick update on code enforcement. We've talked about our need to increase our code enforcement presence. We know that's a part of our next budget activity because we might have to hire more people. But we were looking for steps that we could take immediately to make us more effective. And we've had our first meeting of a cross-departmental code enforcement team. We've had all the agencies that have anything to do with code enforcement get together and us talk about how we're going to inform each other and how we're going to move forward with a more aggressive code enforcement effort. We're actually going to start some of this tomorrow, is when we're going to be touring. We've selected 2 or 3 blighted properties in Georgetown that we intend to focus on first, so that we can reinforce our own processes. And if we approach it from a multi-department perspective, we can learn the best way to move forward on these difficult properties. We're going to take a field trip to one of those properties tomorrow afternoon at 1:30, and then our committee, our interdepartmental committee, is going to meet at 2:30 at the police department, and we've asked a small group of property managers from around the community to meet with us. We thought if we're going to be serious about this initiative, we wanted those who own a lot of rental property and those who manage a lot of rental property to sit down with us and let's talk this process through and see how it works. So we're both looking for their help and we're looking for them to better understand what our efforts are going to be about. So that doesn't cost us anything except a little communication, and we've got that effort underway. We have heard the council in your many requests to address West Main Street, the lack of adequate sidewalks and streetlights. And we did not have time to get it ready for tonight, but at the next council meeting, we will bring you a strongly worded resolution so the council can express itself about the need for West Main Street to be helped with sidewalks and streetlights. We'll direct that to the Secretary of Transportation, and then we'll use it for as much leverage as we can. We can't allocate millions of dollars to it, but we want the council to be able to have a very loud voice in how we move that forward. So we'll bring that to you at the next council meeting. Chief Bosse, under Mayor's comments, did you have something that you'd like to enlighten the council on?
I just wanted to share with you a letter that we got from one of our citizens. It's just it's kind of a unique letter about one of our officers. Chief Bosse, my wife and I are composing this letter in regards to a special officer on your department, Officer Justin Johnson. Not only is he very courteous and concerned, he may have gone well above what is expected of him to assist us. Justin Johnson not only fulfilled his promise as an officer, but worked our case on his day off. We believe he deserves recognition, not only for his integrity, but also for crawling through a dumpster to retrieve our stolen property. Justin came in on his day off to follow up on a lead and did find these people's property. They did ask me to give him recognition, and so I think this is the appropriate place to do that.
We were also going to call Assistant Chief Eric Colson up tonight, but we're going to wait till the next meeting when he and Chief Ward will bring a young hero before the council. A young lady that acted very courageously, got her sister out of the house in a fire and called 911 and behaved more maturely than her years might seem. So we'll have her here at the next meeting. And finally, Andrew and I are powwowing a lot about the HOA ordinance and how we bring that back to you for your next steps. Much of the content that we presented to you before, there's consensus on. There's a handful of issues in there that are more difficult where we have not reached consensus. And what we're going to try and do is distill down those specific points where we think more discussion needs to occur and bring those back to you. If we can get clarity on those 4 or 5 areas, then we're ready, I think, to invite the public in to examine the full ordinance and finally be able to move forward. But we want you all to focus some of your effort on 4 or 5 areas where we need the most guidance from you. So we'll bring that to you as soon as possible. Did you time me?
You started at 6:02, so you can.
6:03.
Marvin timed you.
Oh, boy.
Stacy's response was too long. Next item on your agenda, Bob. GMWSS approval of a purchase order to Faust Electric.
Evening again. Here tonight to request approval of purchase order to Faust Electric for the low bid amount of $10,728.84 to replace 2 variable frequency drives at our main pump station and stamping ground. This expenditure will come out of the pump station rehab line item in our fiscal year 2016 capital budget, and our board approved this item on December 15th.
Motion.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second? Second's been made. No questions for Bob. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your help with the other conversation, Bob. Item 9 on your agenda, it says city attorney, but it's a municipal order approving surplus property.
Just couldn't figure out where else to stick.
You want me to read it?
Sure.
In order declaring surplus property and authorizing the disposal of same by public auction, whereas the property described in the list attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference was acquired for use by the designated city departments, and whereas the property is in need of repairs exceeding in current value is not being used by the city and should be declared surplus. Now therefore it is hereby ordered by the Georgetown City Council that the property described in the attached list is declared surplus property and that the mayor is authorized to dispose of the same by public auction.
Thank you. That municipal order is followed with a short list of surplus items from the fire department, from the police department, city hall, and cemetery. And if there are no questions about that, entertain.
Motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Got it.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Ms. Conley. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Stacy.
evening.
Evening.
Oh, I can't see this far. Okay.
There you go.
Sorry, David.
Just a couple of things before I get into the revenue report. We did have a finance committee meeting this afternoon. Hadn't had one in a while and wanted to kind of have our kickoff to the budget season, but at the next council meeting, you will receive, we will be looking at that budget amendment, the long-awaited budget amendment for this year. We've still got a few dollar amounts to nail down. We've acquired quite a list throughout the year of things that we need to update that council has taken action on, and a few new things. The other thing I'll be presenting at the next meeting is our schedule for preparation of the budget. So it's getting to be that time of year again. And you did have a December financial report in your packet that has detail on every line item in the budget. Not going to go over that tonight. I want to hit the part that's always most interesting, which is our revenue analysis. So starting with our payroll tax collections, as we all recall, this is our first year for the Toyota incentive to kick in. And this second quarter of the year, we did finally see that. So what you will see is obviously our comparison through December. And compared to where we were this time last year, we're running behind $425,107. That is with the incentive taken into account. So what I've done is on this particular spreadsheet, I've added a section right above the graph for you to see each month what is being withheld by the Revenue Commission to pay the incentive. And I think Toyota is calculating these numbers and giving them to the Revenue Commission. So you can see October, November, and December what has been withheld from our payments. Those total to $624,993.97. I think I put that total on your spreadsheet. So if you net that with the 425, we're actually $199,886 ahead of last year if you don't count for the incentive. So it shows that we are still seeing growth in our payroll tax revenue, but we're obviously having to net out the incentive this year. So any questions on payroll taxes?
We had talked about trying to grow our way out of the incentive package hole, and this begins to show us a picture that we're making progress on that, but we've not overcome all that yet.
So that's the payroll taxes. The net profits, always run a couple of extra analysis to talk about with this. So one of the things you'll see, I never have this information for the first quarter analysis, but by the time our auditors roll around for the second quarter, I do. So one thing, you don't have it in front of you to compare, but there's an update on the FY15 revenue. The month of June was showing 800,000 something positive, and now it's showing a negative. And what happens is when the Revenue Commission's auditors come, they always calculate how much in refunds are due. So at June 30, 15, they always look and see who they owe money to. Again, Toyota's tax return for their March 31st isn't usually due until July 15th. So there's some things that we don't always have immediately, and of course they usually file extensions too. But so what happens is that basically that revenue got bumped up to this year. So you see $2,692,334 for this year thus far. 1.5 million of that has been estimated payments from Toyota on the March 31st, 2016 year. So I've done some calculations on the 15 and 16 columns to back out all of the Toyota net profits estimates to try to see what our net profits are, not counting Toyota. So for FY15 through December, backing out 1.8 million from Toyota, we were at $803,099. For 2016, backing out the Toyota net profit payments of 1.5 million, we're at $1,192,334, which is a $389,000 increase, which is 48%. So again, growth. Even excluding our Toyota, we see growth. And we did receive the payment from Toyota. I don't know, Mayor, if you want to talk about that a little bit at all or not, but for 2011.
I had a
And
chance
ended.
to discuss with the Finance Committee that we have received a one-time additional tax payment from Toyota that actually comes from the tax year 2011. That was reported in 2012. And Toyota had to restate their earnings for that period at a higher profit level. So it generated additional income for the city. The city and the county each received the payment for those restated earnings. I think the additional tax was just over $1.7 million. The penalty and interest on that amount was just over $700,000. So we have received a check for $2.4 million of one-time income that was not originally anticipated. We have not reflected it in these numbers yet because we didn't want to distort your picture of what the true budget activity is. And then we'll decide the best use for those additional funds.
It's our first year incentive almost.
That's great.
Yes, but it's
I know, I'm
it's
just,
1 year and it doesn't happen again.
but that's 1 year more than we had.
That's
Exactly.
exactly right. We will not look this gift horse in the mouth.
Oh,
What I hope we'll do is either pay down debt, increase our reserves. We need to solidify our financial condition. The only other large ticket item that I can imagine might be necessary infrastructure at Lanes Run Business Park, where that money would actually be an investment for our future growth. But we've got time to have those discussions, but did want you to know that that's occurred.
Moving on to insurance premium tax collections, you can see the analysis through December. Of course, the quarter ending December 31st. A lot of those we don't even get into the last few days, but we're running about $7,250 behind last year. That's not a significant amount. Obviously, last year we received $43,000 more than what we budgeted this year, so I think we should be fine. But again, those come in kind of at the will of the insurance companies. They are self-reporting on those, so hopefully maybe it'll uptick later in the year, but running fairly even. Property taxes, Tracy's done a great job. We've collected 99% of our property tax budget.
good.
So running $225,000 ahead of where we were at this time last year. So hopefully, looking at past experience, we should hit our budget easily with the rest of that trickling in for the rest of the year. The alcoholic beverage regulatory fees, always quarter behind on these. But you can see our July to September quarter, we've got the final numbers, which I probably didn't have for you in in October. So you can see we beat the first quarter by almost a couple thousand from the previous year. And then through today, we had collected 80,000. But again, a lot of those returns roll in the last days of the month and even the first days of February. So I'll provide that updated number next time, but everything seems to be trending upward.
Good.
Good.
This report gives me confidence that we budgeted carefully and we're meeting those budget expectations.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
On the property taxes. How much do we have outstanding not collected yet?
Did you mean 99% of budget had been collected?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, 99% of budget.
At my last calculation, we had collected 87% of the property
There's
taxes.
still 13% uncollected. So we're gonna should easily beat budget on that. Good.
Any other questions for Stacy?
Thank you.
Thank you all.
And this gives us a great jumping off point for when we start our next budget consideration. Well, are we ready for the executive session?
We are.
Do you have the language
I
for
do.
Ms. Sames?
Or whoever would like.
I make a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to KRS 61.8101C to discuss pending litigation.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.